Um, Hello, good day. Today, I'll be walking you through our first unit standard, which is Unit Standard 13912. As you can see on the screen, the topic for that unit standard is apply knowledge of self and team in order to develop a plan to enhance team performance. So essentially, we'll be talking about how knowing yourself personally will help you to function better in a team and how that will help the team to perform better. So go down to our first section. Okay, so give me a minute to just scroll to our first section. Our first section is knowledge and understanding of self. So, who are you as a person is essentially what we're going to be talking about. So, if a person will ask you a question, who are you? What will you answer? So, you must put that in mind you must ask yourself that question, who am I? So, who you are is a combination of a lot of things. So, who you are is influenced by where you come from in terms of your culture, your family background, where you went to school, the people you hang around with, your community, your life experiences. All those things shape and build who you are. So you can never answer the question, who are you, if you don't include all those things. Because our culture is essentially the main influence of who we are. So when we are growing up, we get shaped and we get instilled these principles in us that came from a long line of our ancestors. So traditions and how we do things and the rules we must follow and the principles we must follow, all those things are instilled in us when we were very young. So those are fundamentals of what form us and what helps us to have an identity of self. It is quite important for a person to understand who they are, what they like, what motivates you, what are you all about. So if a person walks up to you and asks you, who are you, must have a confident answer to say, I am I'm Edna and this is me, this is my characteristics. I love doing this. I essentially this is who Edna is as a person. So you must be able to tell the next person that comfortably without you overthinking or thinking too hard on it. So this comes as a result of self-analysis. So it's quite important to analyze yourself, analyze your habits, analyze your traits and your trends. Because whenever we are going through life, we have certain traits and trends that we do. We are creatures of pattern, if you would like to say. So we follow certain patterns in our lives. So each and every individual has a different way of approaching things, a different way of doing things. And in those ways, they create their own unique pattern. So it's quite important for you to analyze yourself, analyze the patterns that you usually follow and see how are those patterns helping you? Are they helping you? Excuse me, what you can change about yourself and where you can improve. So self-analysis is essentially quite important for self-improvement as well. It helps you to understand yourself better and to see where you are lacking and where you need to change and what habits you need to drop and what you might need to improve on. So a self-analysis helps us as well in setting up goals and objectives for ourselves. Let's say, for example, you ask yourself the question, who is Edna and what is it about that person that I don't like? And then you come up, let's say maybe you are overweight, and then you say, okay, this is me in the present moment, but I don't want to be in this space. In the next year or two, I want to have lost weight, I want to be healthier, I want to shed a few kilos if you're not pleased with the weight that you're in. So that you analyzing yourself and coming up with that thing to say, okay, I'm not comfortable with who I am now, so I need to change. I'm not comfortable with the weight I am now, I need to change my weight. So you will set a goal to say, I'm going to lose weight in the next 4 to 5 months or whatever, and then set out a plan on how you're going to actually lose that weight. Like we've been saying, self-analysis is good for personal development. So whenever you're analyzing yourself, like I just said, it helps you set your goals and your objectives. So once you have sit down and then you start analyzing yourself, you ask yourself, am I where I want to be in life, or career wise, or just in general? When I was looking at my life 5 years ago, um, is this what I was picturing? And then you ask yourself, so is this what I want? So it might have been what you pictured, maybe you achieved all your goals, but does it make you happy? Is it what you want? What else do you hope for? What else are you dreaming for? And all those things. So you can sit down and start planning once you are doing a self-analysis, write down the things that you're not happy about, the things that you wish to achieve, your hopes, your dreams. It can be in the work setting, it can be in the private setting. So in the work setting, you'd ask yourself, am I comfortable in this position that I'm currently in the workplace? Do I want a promotion? Do I want to change careers? What exactly do you want? What is it that will make you happier? And once you've established that, you can write it down and now form set goals for yourself and set objectives on how you're going to be achieving those particular goals and those particular hopes and dreams that you see in our learner guide. They give us an insight on how you can write down your goals, wishes, and hopes. So you can divide them to say, these are my work goals, these are my private goals. The private ones, you can further separate them to say, these are like my private personal goals, and these are my private family goals if you are a person who has family. Nextly, we talk about how to set goals. So once you have decided what you want, once you have affirmed what you want, then you have to what to set your goal. Your goal has to be specific to say, if you're saying I want to lose weight, how much weight do you want to lose? What size do you want to be? So it has to be specific and it has to be challenging. So you can't set yourself goals that you know are quite easy, and you can't say I want to lose, let's say for example, 0.2 kgs. That's not even half a kg. So that can be easily done. So it's not a challenging goal. So you must make sure you set yourself goals that challenge you, that push you, that make you grow. So we are going to talk about goals and expand on this on our last section. So I'm just going to scroll down. So I'm not going to be talking about everything that's in the learner guide. I'll just touch on the important points so that all the other stuff you can go and read through on your own for a further understanding. So I'm just going to do a brief summary of our unit standard. Once you have set your goals, you have established what you want, and it has been specific, then you write an action plan. So a goal is essentially something you aim to achieve, right? So the difference between a goal and an objective is objectives are the steps that you're going to take in order for you to achieve your goal. So the little steps that you're going to do to achieve your main goal. So action plans are developed from the objectives. So once you have your goal, let's say to lose weight, you're going to write steps on how you want to achieve that goal, how you want to lose the weight. Are you going to start dieting? Are you going to start going to gym? Are you going to get someone to do meal preps for you? So what exactly is it that you're going to be doing? So in the action plan now, you break down your objectives. So if you say I want to go to the gym, so firstly you're going to say, I want to go to the gym. Maybe your goal is to lose 10 kilos or 5 kilos in a space of a year. So you're going to break it down now to say, in the first month, I'm going to join gym. I'll try and go to gym maybe once or twice a week. And then you start breaking down each and every step that you're going to take. Your action plan is just an outline of the actions that you need to do to achieve your objectives, which will then make you achieve your goal. So whenever we are setting goals, we must know that we follow what we call the SMART rule. So the SMART rule, we are going to talk about it further in our last section of this unique standard. So yeah, keep listening. On the second section, we are going to be talking about identifying own role in the organization. So everyone has a role they play in the company that they work in or in the organization that you're part of. So if you were not necessary, you wouldn't be there. So you being in that particular organization means you bring something that is needed in that organization. So it's quite important for a person to understand what their role is, what is needed or required of them. Um, in every organization and business, we have different levels. Like we can see there on our learner guide, we have four different types of management levels. So, three different types of management levels actually. We have top management, we have middle management, and we have junior management. Then we have our general employees, which are not part of the management structure. So, this organogram just breaks down the power hierarchy of an organization. So, who is in the top management? So, your top management are your shareholders, the owners of the company. So those are people that are responsible for coming up with the vision of the company, with the mission of the company, and they are the driving force of the company. They set the company goals and they make the decisions that either drive the company forward or not, just depending. But those are your owners, your shareholders, etc. On middle management, you have your department heads, so those managers who are heads of departments, so your manager for the sales department, manager for administration departments, so all those that are in charge for departments or branches, those will be in your middle management. And usually the middle management reports directly to the top management. And then junior management, that's where you find your supervisors. So your team leaders, your supervisors, all those people that um, manage on the ground. So whenever you have a team leader or a team supervisor, those are your junior managers, and those report to what? To middle management, which in turn reports to top management. So employees, this is where everyone is, like general employees, your cleaners, people that make the products, your drivers, people that package, people that do admin. So these are the bottom of the hierarchy. So being bottom of the hierarchy, we are not saying you are less important. We are just saying that according to the power structure of that particular organization, you will have less power than your supervisor or your team leader, and then they will have less power than your department heads, which are your middle management. And also, middle management doesn't have as much power as top management, which is your board of directors, your owners, etc. So every company, especially medium to large companies, have a few departments. So only small companies um, if one department with one person doing everything, if it's a sole organization. But your middle to large companies have several departments. And we know examples of the departments that you can find in an organization: finance, marketing, production, sales, dispatch, depending on what kind of service or product that particular organization what produces. So there on page 14, we have an example of an organogram. I'm sorry, I don't know if you can see it properly, but you can go through it in your own time to see the various structures different companies have. I think we have three examples. We move on to supervision. What does a supervisor do? What does a junior manager do? So junior managers are essentially there to monitor and to see if the job is being done well. So these are the people that are usually working hand to hand with people that are on the ground, which are your employees, to see if you're executing your tasks according to the company requirement or according to the organization requirement. So supervisor's duty is quite important because they are the ones that are the driving force of the employees to make sure that implementation of the top management and middle management ideas is being done properly. And if there are any deviations or any problems, they're the ones that are there to solve what they can and communicate to management if there are any major problems that may need them to intervene. So we can break down the work of a supervisor into two. There's technical work and then there's human work. So technical work is what I was just talking about, the hands-on working together with everyone physically to be there and to see if the work is being done properly and to monitor and to make sure that everything is in accordance to the company standards and the company's code of conduct. And human work, this is now the supportive part of a supervisor where they are there to support the workers emotionally and try to see if there's anything that they can help the workers with on improving themselves. So this one is basically emphasis on the human skills aspect of um, managing. And then there's also conceptual work, which is coming up with new ideas to fix problems or to achieve tasks. That's part of a supervisor or a junior manager's job. So, us as aspiring junior managers, these are the things that will be expected of us to do once we are in that particular position. So every employer has expectations. So whenever you get to a place or you are new to an organization, you get given your job description. So essentially, your job description is the employer's expectations of you. You, as well as the employee, also have expectations of how you are going to be treated in that particular organization, how you expect um, everything to be. So everyone has expectations when they get into an organization. So some of the expectations of an employee are they expect you to do some of it are the simplest of things. Just arrive to work on time, make sure you actually do work. So some people will just go to work and then they waste time essentially. So people can waste time just chatting to their friends or using the company Wi-Fi or just be on their phone all the time. So excuse me, it's part of the employer's expectations to for you, the employee, to make sure that you are there on time, you are available to work as fast as you can, you are there you will put your all into whatever position that you are given. So the list there is endless. In our learner guide, we can go through it on our own time. We move on to performance measurements. So this is quite an important aspect of in the organization because you cannot say that a team or a person is performing very well or not performing well if you are not given a standard. So for you to measure someone's performance, there must be a standard. And usually in the organizations that we work in, we get given a job description. So that job description outlines what is expected of you. So that particular job description is the standard. I don't know if they can be like additions, but in most cases, once you're given a job description, everything that's on there is the standard, the minimum that you must be. And then if you do more, it means that you are performing very well and above your what is the standard that was set for you. So it is quite important for us aspiring managers or team leaders to actually sit down with our employees or our team members or people that we are managing and tell them what is expected of them. And once you give them the standard, then you tell them how you're going to be assessing their performance. This is where now performance measurements comes in. So performance measurements, you will just be checking if the person is doing what they were supposed to be doing. Are they following their job description? Are they doing their tasks according to the organizational standards? If yes, and everything, they're satisfying everything on their job description, it means that they're what? They're performing well. And we use different assessment methods to check if someone is performing well depending on the organization. So things like your um, performance reports, uh, assessments from your manager. They can just shadow you to check if you are doing your tasks well, and then complete a checklist to see what's going on with you and are you conforming to the company standard. One important thing that manages us as employees and as managers in the workplace is the code of conduct. So the code of conduct is essentially a document that states how one is supposed to handle themselves in a professional setting, in a work organization. So code of conduct contains ethics. So ethics are essentially what governs a person, the principles and values that governs a person. So we have personal ethics and then we have ethics in the business environment. So uh, business ethics generally means knowing what is right and what is wrong in the workplace setting, in the organization. So it deals with moral issues and the values that govern morality in the workplace. So, for example, we must know that you cannot steal, you cannot lie. That is unethical in the business setting. Even if we take it out of the business setting, just in our own personal lives, that is also bad self-ethic to be a liar or to steal and all that. But then when we are in our own personal space, we are governed by different rules and laws. Everyone chooses principles that they want to follow depending on where you grew up, like we're talking about in the first section of knowing yourself, what makes you a person. So we're brought up differently. To some, lying and cheating is normal, just a means to an end. There is nothing wrong with that in their own personal capacity. But to some of us who were brought up in a, let's say, Christian background, for example, we're told lying is wrong, cheating is wrong, you can't steal. So those are different values and principles that I go by because they were instilled in me, in my family, and in the area that I grew up in. But then I cannot come and impose the same values on another person who was brought up in a different setting where lying and cheating is normal. But in the workplace now, it's a different case. No matter personally you feel there is nothing wrong with lying or cheating or stealing, but in a business setting, we have ethics that govern that particular space. So personal ethics don't really apply in a business setting. You must follow the business ethics. And in some instances, the personal ethics and the business ethics are the same, and in some they clash. So some of the unethical things or unethical practices that one can do in a business setting or in an organization, a professional setting, is bribery. Um, I'm thinking most of us have been in the situations, especially here in South Africa. We've been in tricky situations where we might have done this, but it's quite unethical. So, an organization or a professional setting, we can't be using bribes, we can't be doing fraud, we can't be showing favoritism. It's all those little things. We can't be stealing, we can't be doing loose talk. So loose talk is basically when you leak confidential information. Let's say you've seen that, oh, one of your workmates, I don't know, has what can be confidential, is HIV positive, for example. Maybe you work with people's confidential information like that. So you can't go around now telling everyone that person's status. That is loose talk and that is unethical. And unethical behavior in the workplace is quite common, and it is our duty as managers to make sure that we teach people on what the business ethics are and what is expected of them ethically, so that people don't break that particular what those ethics and do unethical stuff. So sometimes people venture into unethical practices because they don't know better. Of course, ignorance is no defense, but then as an organization, you must strive harder to educate your employees and give them information so that they know and understand why we say this is unethical and the consequences of them being caught performing unethical practices. Um, Poor ethics will always cost an organization. For example, let's say the one who I just mentioned, where you come across confidential information of people, they might be your clients, and then you go around. Maybe they are clients that you live with wherever you live in your castle or in a suburb there, and you see their information at your workplace. You cannot carry information that you've seen from your workplace back to your home. That is unethical. Whatever it is that you saw in the workspace, you do not carry it or transfer it. If you saw that, okay, my next door neighbor apparently is getting a divorce and this is what's happening, or they are broke, they lost all their money and whatnot. You cannot go around and gossip now in your where you live in your suburb, whatever, to say, oh, did I tell you what this is happening to this person? I saw it at our workplace with the papers that they filled. I know most people do this, but it's quite unethical. And then once that person that you're talking about hears um that information is full now in the streets or whatever, it means that they cannot trust your company or your organization with further information because they've seen that you cannot hold the confidence there. You can hold, they cannot hold you in confidence. So they can't depend on you to what to hold their confidential information to yourselves and not disseminate it to everyone. So that will cost the company clients, it will give a bad reputation to the company. And once a company has a bad reputation, trying to clean up that reputation is a problem. A lot of people won't trust it and all of that. So it's quite, um, it can be quite a loss to the company. Without just emphasizing on just the bad part of ethics, let's also talk about good work ethics. So, good work ethics is when you, as an employer, hold positive principles and values. So, you are honest, you are trustworthy, you have pride, loyalty. So, you show loyalty to the people that you're working for. So, loyalty in the sense that you adhere or you stick to the rules and the values of that particular organization. So if you're dealing with clients, you're going to follow the correct procedures on handling client information, whether confidential or not, and treating them well, and not asking for briberies and things that might jeopardize the company. All right. Yeah, like I was saying, the code of conduct is the document that governs business ethics or workplace ethics. I'm sure everyone, if you placed at a workplace, we have seen a code of conduct or we have gone through a code of conduct because you cannot start working at an organization and they don't tell you the code of conduct. Like I said before, you can't come to a person that you didn't tell this is wrong to and this is what we do, how we do things here, and just say what you did is wrong depending on who. We have different values, like I said, and principles. In my eyes, it might not be wrong. So we need this code of conduct to govern us at a workplace or in a professional setting. So I would advise you guys, if you haven't read the code of conduct of your workplace, to just go ask your HR or your team leader or whoever can give you this particular document so that you can go through it and understand the rules and the principles of the workplace you're working in. So code of conduct slightly differ depending on the workplace and the work setting, but mostly like the core of them, like core principles and values like no cheating, bribery, theft, and all that, you will see that they're almost similar or the same in different organizations. Also, the code of conduct has things like what type of dressing is acceptable in your particular workplace. So those are all those things that you must know that I can't go to this workplace with bare shoulders or showing cleavage or in a short dress or skirt. And for guys, you can't show up in flops to the workplace. So those are some of the things that you'll find in a code of conduct. So it's quite important to go through it, to understand it, so that you won't be found on the wrong side of it. Moving on to our third section, which we're going to be talking about dealing with conflict. So, conflict is a normal thing. It's something that will always be there and it always happens. How we manage it, however, is up to us and is a skill that we must learn, especially if you want to be a manager or if you want to be a team leader. But everyone is a team leader in different settings. So if you're an older sibling, you're a team leader. If you're a father, means you're a leader. If you are I don't know, a leader at church or wherever, you lead somewhere. So this is a skill that we all need because somewhere in different spaces we are all leaders and we will come across conflict and we will need to deal with that particular conflict. All right. So firstly, we are going to be talking about teams. Um, what is a team? So essentially, a team is a group of people working towards one goal. So there is a difference between a group and a team. A team, they have one goal, so everyone is working together to achieve this particular goal. A group is generally people that do not perform the same function but are grouped together. So in a group, a general group, there's no one goal. People have different functions and they have their own stuff going on. But in a team setting, it means that everyone in that particular team is working towards achieving a specific goal. We're all part of a team, whether in our social lives or in the workplace. If you work in the sales department, it means you're part of the sales team. You're part of that department is your team. So you're part of that particular team. We have different team structures. Usually teams are quite small and they don't consist more than 12 members, but it differs sometimes with organization to organization, like I've been saying. So teams might actually be bigger or quite smaller than we are talking about. So teams perform different functions depending on what team it is and why that team has been formed. Like we're talking about, there can be a finance team, there can be a problem solving team. I think we're going to expand on that as we go. So we've established that everyone is part of a team, right? So what are your responsibilities as a team member? So even if you're the team leader, you are still part of the team and you're a team member. So you have responsibilities as well. So if you are part of a team, it's your responsibility to make sure that you are committed to working together with the people in that particular team to achieve your goal. And you have committed to supporting your team members, to supporting the decisions that the team is going to make, to encourage and support also your team members, like I've just said. So essentially, when you're a team member, you must be a team player. So anything that is needed by the team, you must avail yourself, use your skills to as much as you can further the team and make sure that the goals are achieved. A team is governed by rules. You cannot be a team that doesn't have rules. So it's quite important for for all team members to be familiar with the team rules. So like we're talking about the code of conduct, those are the rules of the company, right? And some departments there's a company code of conduct and some have a department code of conduct to say in this department this is what must happen. So it will be a further extension of the company's code of conduct. So it's up to you as a team member to be familiar with all those rules so that you are not what found on the wrong side of the law. In teams, right, conflict is going to be there and it's quite normal. Even siblings fight, even married couples fight, people that love each other fight, even priests and pastors find themselves in conflict. So, conflict is just everyone's reality of life. It happens. We must accept it. It's not something bad. It can be bad in some instances, but it can also be good. So we have constructive conflict, which is good conflict, and we have destructive conflict, which is bad conflict. Usually, when people hear the word conflict, they automatically just think destructive. They think fighting and getting physical and all that, but it's not always the case. So constructive conflict is conflict that helps us to move forward. So let's say in a team, we want to make a decision, and let's say it's a team of five. We want to make a decision, and five people are saying yes, five people are saying no. Automatically, that's a conflict because these team members are not agreeing on what they need to do. So, how will we solve this conflict? We will listen to team A. Why are you saying no? And then they state their own opinions. We are saying no because of this, and then they support their what their cause. And then we look to the other team. Why are you saying yes? Then they also support why they are saying yes and all that. This will help us to pull all the schools of thought and actually see, okay, these people are saying this, these people are saying this. These are all possibilities. So from this conflict, what can we do? So that conflict helps us to grow. It helps us to come up with better decisions. It helps us to solve issues. That's good conflict. Also, good conflict can be in form of debates where we try to make the other person see a different view, a different version of things. So we are not fighting. We're just trying to make each other see a different point of view. And that always helps us to open up the minds of the team members and so that people, whenever we're making a decision, we'll make a holistic decision, which means a decision that is all rounded. We have considered all aspects and all views and we'll make a very good decision. Also, constructive conflict makes communication more authentic, helps build group cohesiveness, which means it helps join people together. If we are in conflict and we are able to listen to each other and then come up with a solution, it means we are joined together. We are more united as a team than the team that's going to just fight and not listen to each other. So we have a whole list there of how constructive conflict helps. Destructive conflict, however, that is where everything goes wrong. People fight, people don't listen to each other. It's a mess. So that type of conflict is the conflict that we need to avoid as much as possible. Conflict goes unresolved. There are things that might happen or there are consequences to unresolved conflicts. We especially in the workplace or in an organization or in a team setting, we must not sweep things under the carpet. If there is conflict, let's sit down, let's talk about it, let's hear everyone's side of the story, let's come up with a solution and solve the conflict. Because now sweeping things under the carpet will come back and bite you later. Because now if I have a conflict with my team member and I will say that this person lied about the role that they played in what in achieving this task, for example. So I'm not pleased and they don't care. So I have conflict with this person because of what they did. If we don't resolve that particular conflict, I'll have resentment for that person. I'll develop hate for that person. And once you don't like your team member, you resent them and you develop hate, it means you are not going to work together well with that particular team member, and that will not be good for the team. It brings the team backwards instead of moving the team forward, instead of achieving our goals. It would drag the team down. So unresolved conflict will lead to strained relationships. People won't trust each other. People will just be walking on eggshells, and it's not a good environment for a team. A team, we must be united. We must, of course, we are going to have people with different personalities. We might have little personality clashes, but then if we talk about it, we learn to live with each other and there'll be harmony. But if we don't talk about it, then there'll be resentment, there'll be the relations won't be as close knit and as cohesive as in a conflict resolved environment. So we have different management styles that one can use as a manager in order to manage conflict. So we have integrating, we have obliging, we have dominating, avoiding, and compromising. So all these approaches work in different situations. So you must look at the situation and judge and evaluate the situation. Then you can use the appropriate what management style. So this management style influenced by two things: concern for self and concern for others. So, whenever you're looking for a problem or you're looking at a problem, you're going to check, am I looking at it with concern for self, concern for me, or with concern for others? So, once you establish that, then you can use the a suitable management style. All right, so we'll just quickly go through the management styles because we still have, I don't want this to be extremely long. Okay, so integrating just means that you are seeking for an exchange, you're seeking for common ground. So you have a desire to actually listen to that person, and also you communicate how you feel, and the both of you resolve the situation or come up with a solution that makes everyone happy. So this particular style is associated with problem solving. So it's a style that is good for problem solving. You listen to side A, side B, and you get you come up with a solution that satisfies both sides. So this one is a good concern for self and a balanced concern for others. So you're not only thinking about yourself, you're also thinking about another person. Next one is sorry. Okay. The next one is obliging. So this particular management style puts high value on others. So you are more concerned about what others think and feel than on yourself. So you will just go along with what other people think, even though you do not agree or you are in conflict with them. You just let the other people have their own way. So this one usually is reflective of a person who has self-esteem issues. But now there are instances where you can use this particular managing style where you just be like, you know what, um, for the sake of the team. So that's you just saying for the sake of other people, I'll just keep quiet and I'll just oblige with the decision and move with it so that we resolve conflict. And we have dominating. So this style is the exact opposite of obliging. So this one is self-centered. So you're thinking you're more concerned about yourself than others. So you want to be heard. You want to overlook everyone else and make sure that you are heard and your decision is heard. excuse me. So this particular style, you assert yourself a lot and you make others listen to you and you dominate the argument or the conflict and you win it. And then avoiding, so the avoider does not place value on either self or people. So this is a person who just says, I don't know, who just wants to be neutral, who just avoids everything. So they don't want to take a side. So these are the avoiders. So they don't care for how they feel. They also don't care for how the others feel. They just don't want to be involved. So usually people who use this technique are a little passive, but there are instances where this technique also works. There's compromising. Compromising this does not put high concern for you or for the other. So this one is similar to the first one that we're talking about, which is integrating. So compromising is the middle ground. So you're trying to find a middle ground for everyone to get a solution that pleases everyone. So whenever we have conflict, we have different possible outcomes. So we have a lose-lose outcome, a lose-win outcome, and a win-win outcome. So what this means is, in a lose-lose situation, let's say, for example, in our class, we want to decide where we want to take a trip to. And that group A says we want to go to Cape Town, group B says we want to go to Durban. So I, as the team leader, will say, okay, we are neither going to Cape Town or to Durban. We will go to Mpumalanga or another place. So in this instance, both teams have lost, but our conflict has been resolved. So that's a lose-lose situation. A lose-win situation is one part of the one part of these two groups, let's say group A wins and we say we are going to Cape Town and then the Durban side loses. So that's a lose-win situation. And the third outcome, a win-win situation, is when both groups win. So we can say those that want to go to Cape Town can go to Cape Town. Those that want to go to Durban can go to Durban. So in that instance, that's a win-win situation. Um, quite important when you are a team leader or a manager and you want to resolve a conflict, you firstly have to define the conflict or define the problem. So you have to look at if team members come to you with their issue or with their conflict, you have to sit down and actually analyze it and define what the problem is. So where is the point of conflict? So this is important so that you know what to fix. So for example, sometimes people will come and will be fighting, but once you hear both stories, you will see that on the surface level, you might think this is the conflict, but then there are other underlying issues. Remember when I was talking about how we must not sweep things under the carpet. So these are some of the problems that might bubble up. People will start fighting over a small thing, like let's say um, team team logo or team colors in someone's red and someone's purple, and people actually fight so badly. And then you, as a team leader, you sit down and think, is this only about the color of the team, like of the t-shirts that the team wants to wear? Is it only, or there are other issues that are underlying? That's where this conflict is originating from. So it's quite important for you to define what the problem is so that you know what solution to what. Uh, Once you have defined the problem, you must analyze now the situation. So whenever you're analyzing, you use the 5 W's and an H: who, what, where, when, why, how. So this will help you understand the situation better or understand the problem or the conflict better. So you get more information on it. After you've done that, then that's when you can sit down and come up with what a solution. So you can generate alternative solutions to that what particular problem. Okay. So I'm not going to be going through each and everything. I'll just touch on the important things. The rest of the things you can go through the learner guide in your own time, because I don't want this recording to be extremely long. Okay, so there we have the lesson of the geese. This one is quite important in telling us about how uh, how teamwork is important and why it is important. So this is quite an important lesson to go through. We get so many lessons from the story of the geese. So you must read through it and it will help you understand teamwork more. All right. I think we'll move on to, yes, about group dynamics. So group dynamics, like we said, there's a difference between a group and a team. So we have what we call informal groups and formal groups. I think we'll touch on that in a unit standard that we're going to do later on. All right, characteristics of effective and ineffective teams. So just by looking at a team, you can tell if this team is effective or not, depending on how people handle themselves, how knowledge flows, how they handle conflict, how decisions are made. So those are some of the telltale signs to say this is a good team, good functional team, and this is a non-functional and non-effective team. So in terms of information, in a in a functional team, in an effective team, information flows freely up and down. What we mean by that is information comes from the employees to the management, and it comes from the management to the employees without any hindrances. If the employees are not happy about something, they can communicate it to their team leader, supervisor, or manager, and the managers also can communicate. So they are good communication channels, good and open communication channels, and people are honest with each other. In an ineffective team, however, information usually just flows down. It means it just comes from management to employees. Management does not care what employees have to say, does not listen to what employees have to say. They just tell them what to do. So that those are characteristics of an ineffective team. And there is too much power built up, and a lot of power is too centralized on a few people that tell everyone what to do. So they don't consider the feelings and of the team members or with the views of the people that they are leading. They just tell them what to do. That means that particular team is ineffective because there is a lot of conflict that will be there because one side is not being listened to. In terms of relationships, in a good, effective team, there's trust, there's respect, there's support. In an ineffective team, people are always suspicious of each other. You just think this one is trying to sabotage me, this one is trying to is trying to ruin my career or whatnot, or is coming for me. There are little parties in the team. This one is a clique, this one is a group. Those are characteristics of the ineffective team. It means something is not right in that team. No team unity and team spirit. Then, in terms of conflict, um, in a good team, conflict is regarded as natural and helpful. It helps in decision making. And in an ineffective team, conflict is when people fight, it's destructive, it's avoided, it's just generally a mess on the ineffective team part. I won't go through all of those. You can go through them in your own time. Looking at the differences between a group and a team. So, in a group setting, there is cohesion, confrontation, and coexistence. So, cohesion just means everyone is always threatening each other. People are always fighting and rubbing on each other's bad side. They're always just instigating things and fighting. That's cohesion. In a team, however, There's a winners attitude. There is cooperation, collaboration, and co-ownership. It means that people work together in a team, whereas in a group, you're just fighting and rubbing each other the wrong way. In a group, there's confrontation and there's disagreement, and people just are selfish, self-centered. Whereas in a team, there's collaboration. People share ideas, help each other, share responsibilities. In a group, people agree to disagree. They don't want to solve the conflict. They're just, you know what, you work in that corner of yours, I'll work in this corner of mine. Let's just not cross each other's paths, and that's it. That would be in a group setting. In a team setting, however, that cannot work because we need to work hand in hand. We need to work together for a particular what goal. So there is co-ownership. So people are going to be committed to each other. They are going to work together so that they achieve their goals. Aspect in a team setting, we cannot be team members if we don't trust each other. If I don't trust you to complete the task I assigned to you, or if I don't trust you enough to give you some information to process or to deal with, then it means there won't be any teamwork because I will start withholding all the work and doing it myself because I don't trust my team members are capable or are able of doing things. That's another characteristic of a bad team. People don't trust each other. In a team setting, we must just know that if I give Timber this assignment or this particular task, he will do it and he will do it well. So you just assign it to them, move on, assign to everyone. There's a lot of delegation in a team setting because there's a lot of trust. You know that the people that you have are going to what will complete the task. All right. Let's talk about the extension again of management styles. In this instance, now we are using what we call the managerial grid. So this managerial grid has 5 important styles. So I'm going to go to the, all right, yes, you guys. All right, so it has 5 important styles. So style 1.1, 1.9, 99, and 55. So these are showcased on this particular graph. So what it essentially means is if a team leader is using the 9-1 style, it means, okay, let me start with the 1-1. If a team leader is using the 1-1 style, it means there's a low concern for production and a low concern for people. So that essentially is a flop because that manager does not care for production, he does not care for the people. If a manager is using the 1-9 style, where the production orientation is 1 and the people concern for people is 9. So essentially that manager does not care for production but cares for the workers or for the employees. That also is not effective because even if you make the employees as happy as you can as manager, but the employees are not delivering, you do not care for production, it means you are failing. Sorry, excuse me. It means you are failing as a team leader or as a manager. So that style is also not effective. Then we move on to the 5.5, which is half and half. The manager has a good concern for production and a good concern for the people. The style is okay, it works fine, it gives results, but it does not push either. So it just satisfies the standard, but then there's no growth in this particular style. And then you move on to the next one, which is the 9-1. There's a high concern for production and low concern for people. So if you are a manager who only focuses on did you produce, did you do the numbers well, how much did we sell this month, and you do not care for your team members, it means that people will feel neglected, they will feel like they're not important. And once people start feeling neglected and not important, working is going to be a problem. So working together in that team will be a problem because they don't feel like they are doing anything or helping. So this particular style as well does not work. The most effective style is the 991, which has a high concern for production and a high concern for people. So this one is very collaborative. It means that you know you have to produce to this extent, but also you have to take care of your workers and your team members to know that um, emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, they are okay. And then also it maximizes on production. So the best style to use is 990. We also have different phases of leadership. So a manager can use different phases when they're trying to implement managerial styles. So believe by the okay, by that particular diagram. So this diagram can be a little confusing to people. So I'll try to make it as simple as possible. So what happens with this diagram is in phase one, there is high task and low relations. What that means is we have a lot of tasks to do here, but then the person who's supposed to do the task, let's say there is what name can I use? There's Karen here, who is our new employee, and I'm Edna, I'm the manager. So me and Karen don't really know each other. We are not well acquainted. Karen is new. Um, so I don't know her, she doesn't know me, but we need to do this particular task. So we have a lot of tasks to do, but our relations are low because we don't know each other. So this particular phase is when we call the employee is still immature, so they don't really know what they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to be doing. So there should be high support from the manager here on phase one. So me as the manager, I'll have to help Karen through everything, walk her through, give her support, demonstrate, and show her how things are done. On phase two, this is the life cycle or the growth cycle of Karen as an employee. So on phase two now, we have high relations and high tasks. So our relations are getting better. We are getting to know each other. So now me as the manager, I slowly understand who Karen is and her capabilities. So mentoring is not as intense as in phase one. So now I have let loose the reins a little. I let her make small decisions, do this. I still supervise, but not as intense as we did in phase one. So now our employee Karen is maturing. And then we go on phase three, there's high relations and low trust. So what it means is now I fully understand and I'm confident in Karen's skills. So I I like not regularly manage her or micromanage. I let her do the task and I just open here and there to see and to support and make the crucial decisions on phase three. So here our employee is maturing very well. And then lastly on phase four, there's low relations and low trust. So what this means is I am no longer in current space. I'm no longer monitoring her. I'm no longer holding a hand or helping her. I can just safely give her a task, let her make decisions, let her complete the task because I'm fully confident in her what in her skills. So in that particular phase, our employee is mature now. Let's move on, I think, to the last section. Oof. Right. Enhancing team performances. So whenever you're developing a team, um, like we're talking about with the task relations and how a manager can interact with their employee and the maturity of that. There are certain phases that we go through. Also, in team development, there are certain phases that we need to go through. So we have four phases. We have the forming phase, the storming phase, the norming phase, and the performing phase. So the forming phase is when everyone is just being put together in a group. We're getting to know each other. We are still strangers to each other. And then the storming phase now is when we are past the fake politeness that we do and we are still new to each other. We are now showing our characters and we are now being ourselves. And this is where most conflict happens usually in a team. And then in the norming stage, the group, the team is settled now. We understand each other and each other's personalities. So there's no more clashing. And then the final stage is the performing stage. So now we work together very well because we understand and we know each other and we are settled within each other. Everyone knows the role that they have to play and what they bring to the team. Right. Yes, so let's talk about setting goals and objectives. Like I said, we're doing chapter one. So whenever you are setting goals and objectives, you must use what we call a SMART rule. So once you have your goal, which is a general statement to say, I want to lose weight, I'll keep on just using that particular example. Sorry. I'll keep on using that particular example of losing weight. So your goal is you want to lose weight. And then you come up with the objectives of how you're going to lose weight. But you must make sure that your objectives are smart or set a smart rule. What SMART means is um, S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, A attainable, R relevant, and T time bound, which means that your objectives must be specific. I think we briefly mentioned it in the beginning. So you can't just say, I want to lose weight. You want to lose weight, how much weight? So I want to lose 10 kilos. Um, yes, that's the goal. Specific. Measurable, it means that you must put a measurable quantity to it. So I want to lose 10 kilos and I want to lose maybe 2 kilos every other month. So it must be measurable so that whenever you go back to your plan, you can see that okay, I said I want to lose 10 kilos um to losing 2 kilos per each month. How am I doing so far? Am I doing well? Am I on standard? Am I below standard? What's going on? And then attainable, you must be realistic with your goals and your objectives. Don't set goals and objectives that are so far-fetched that you know you will never, even if you try as hard as possible, you will never achieve it or attain it. So although your goal is supposed to be challenging, it can't be extremely challenging to the point where it's not realistic, like it's not achievable. And then relevant, it must be relevant to where you are right now, relevant to your financial pocket. So you can't say you want to go join a gym and you don't have money to pay for the gym membership, don't have transport to go to the gym, and you don't live anywhere close to a gym. So now it must be relevant to the situation that you're in at that moment. Also, it must be time bound, so you must put a time limit or a time stamp to say, I want to lose weight by the end of 2021. All this is expanded there in our learner guide. Sorry, yeah, page. Yeah, so we have explained what the SMART rule is. It's quite important when you're writing your goals and objectives to physically write them down because it makes you accountable. And you must also have someone that you can go and tell your goals and your objectives to so that they keep you accountable and they also tell you different perspectives and points of view that you might have missed. Um, yeah. So there in our learner guide, we get given an example of how we can write our objectives. So you can put down your objectives, give it a target date. So this is in a team setting. So where you are delegating or you are sharing the tasks within the team. So you write who is going to be overseeing what objectives. So by what date must it be done? Who's responsible for it? What steps must they take and what resources would they need? So once you have set your goals, you've written down your objectives, you've assigned people to do it, you've come up with an action plan, it is quite important to know how you're going to implement that action plan. So, how exactly do you plan on making it come alive, you as the manager? So, what steps are you going to be doing to make sure that the plan is followed? Because most people, especially in our own personal setting, everyone, when it's January or when it's the beginning of the year, we have New Year's resolutions, we write things down, we do a whole lot, we are motivated, but then somewhere, somehow we lose the plot, we lose the plan, we just start freestyling those things. So we can't afford to do that in a work setting or in a professional setting. We must stick to the plan and make sure that it is what everyone that we said we must do is done. The one important aspect about implementation of a plan is communication. So there must be open communication channels between the team and between the team leaders so that we all know what we are supposed to be doing. So if we are given an action plan, we are assigned to tasks, I must come back and report to say this task has been done, if it has been done, if not, it hasn't been done, why hasn't it been done, so that the whole team can be on the same place. And if we need to come up with a contingency plan, we need to come up with ways to resolve a particular problem or issue so that at the end of the day, we achieve our goal, no matter what hindrances or what problems we found on the way. Um, it is quite important that whenever you write an action plan, you put monitoring tags. So you must have a monitoring plan as well on how you're going to monitor the progress. So you as a manager, you have to know and understand the plan initially, and then now know how you're going to be checking for progress. So it can either be by giving people uh, time limits and by asking for report bags, constant report bags, by you shadowing everyone or popping in once in a while to check where the how far along with the plan are you, or also having constant meetings so that you touch base and everyone knows what's going on and how far one has progressed. We talked about establishment of standards. I don't think we should repeat that. Once a standard has been set and when you are monitoring progress, obviously no plan is going to be implemented as it is. Obviously, there are going to be little problems there. For example, no one in 2020 planned for a pandemic. We all had a plan for 2020, but we didn't know there will be a pandemic. So that's one thing that's messed up everyone's plans with personally or organizations and companies. So now people had to sit down to see that okay, how can we still achieve our goals, but then taking into consideration the situation we are in with this pandemic. So they had to go back to the plan and revise some of the things, redo some of the things, take corrective action, we put new goals and new objectives that apply to the situation that you're in. So monitoring progress, obviously you're going to see um, deviations from the standard that was set. So deviation can either be positive or negative. So actual performance or the actual thing that you had planned is not always what happens. So your planned performance might differ from your actual performance. So once you've seen that there's a difference with a positive or negative, you must take corrective action to make sure you remedy the situation. So for example, if you said you wanted to build 3 houses by the end of the month, and then you go check progress, you see that people are still just on the first house, and we only have a week left for that particular month, and you realize that there's no way they're going to build the 3 houses in this month. So that's deviation from the plan. So now we are going to check how am I going to accommodate that negative deviation, because now we are lagging behind. Am I going to extend the end date of our project to accommodate the 2 houses that have not been built, or are those workers going to work overtime in the next month to make sure that we build 5 houses? So the standard is 3 houses per month. They in one month they built one. So in the next month they have to build 5 so that they are on track or on standard so that they don't deviate from the set date. So that would be corrective action. What is needed? All right. So one thing that we must always take into consideration as a manager is how you're going to motivate your team. So you can have all these things, good communication, good understanding and knowledge of self, you can have a plan, you can have a contingency plan, you have a standard, everything is set, but you must know how to motivate your team. So for example, like we were just talking about, you find that your team is deviated negatively. They haven't achieved the set plan, so they fell short of the standards. So people obviously will be demotivated that, oh, we couldn't build the 3 houses, we only managed to build one. And then people start feeling sorry for themselves. Are we capable? They doubt their skills and their capabilities. So it is your duty as the manager to motivate them, to pump them up. And for you to be able to motivate a person, you must understand them. You must know what motivates them, because we are all motivated by different things. Some are motivated by achievement, some are motivated by money. I know most of us are motivated by money. Some are motivated by a promotion and recognition, just depending on their personality. So you as a manager, you must understand what motivates a person. And why is it important to motivate people? Motivation helps to strengthen the team and ignite the team. So it gives the team a little bit more energy, and so that they work super hard and try and achieve their goal. So motivation increases productivity, lowers absenteeism, because people are happy to come to work. They're happy to be part of a group where they are motivated and they are supported, they are understood. So they are willing to be in that space, other than in a team where no one really cares for you, they don't consider your feelings. You just wake up and be like, today I'm not going to work, because you do not feel that drive, or you don't feel needed or part of something big. All right. There's a whole list there of the importance of motivation. So some of the signs of a demotivated team are gossiping, griping, arguments, excessive talking. Those are signs of people that are not content, people that are not happy. people that are demotivated, people that are not pleased with the team that they're in. Some not so obvious signs can be absenteeism. So if you constantly see that your team members are always absent, people don't come to work, you must ask yourself why. You must already know that that person is not motivated. Why would a person want to come to work and be in a team where no one cares for their opinion, no one even looks at the job that they are doing, no one even recognizes that they are doing anything or they're an asset. So you essentially just feel invisible, like, okay, my work here does not matter, so why am I coming to work? So absenteeism is one. Poor attitude is another thing where people are just not in the right spirit. Also, lack of cooperation is another thing. Um, yeah, so that brings us to the end of our unit standard. This was quite a long one, but hopefully I touched on the most important ones. So I think you've already been informed that if you have any problems or queries, you can just text me or talk to me. Also, so once we are done with our unit standard, I think you've already been informed, but I'll just repeat it that you need to complete your formative questions, your summative questions, and your workplace questions. So we have three assessments per each and every unit standard. So it means for this particular unit standard, you're going to complete formative assessments, summative assessments, and workplace assessments. All those assessments are going to be based on what we were talking about today in this unit standard. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.